Hi, I'm Barry van Boekel. I'm an artist. I'm a painter, and this is the first of a series of videos that I intend on releasing each week on YouTube throughout the next couple of months, and who knows more. The topics of these videos are all related to a space that's on the verge of opening, a space that you see in the background here. Wait, let me make my own face a little bigger here. And it's called the Top 100 Archive and Studio. It will be a public space dedicated to my lifelong music and art project, simply called the Top 100. Throughout the series of videos, I will talk about the history of the Top 100, but for this first one, a brief introduction will do, I believe. The Top 100 is a list of 100 songs compiled through any given year. A ranking system is used based on top 10s that I compile once or twice a week. Points are awarded in each of these top 10s and are added up at the end of a year, and this is then the top 100. For each of these songs, an artwork is created. There are now over 3,000 paintings and drawings made in this context, hence the need for a permanent location to show and house these works. I've been wanting a space dedicated to this project for a long time now, and it's finally happening. A dream to come true. I am very excited about it. Here's the next slide. Let me move myself a little bit to the right. There. In this first video, I'd like to introduce the series of 100 paintings that I'm currently working on, which is the Top 100 2020. 15 works have been created thus far in this series, following a list of 100 songs. The compilation of this list is still in progress. Every year, I use a certain format or concept for the series. The concept is never premeditated, but follows a process that is determined by the first 2 or 3 works in it and may further evolve throughout the year. The first work that I did for the 2020 series was a response about making art during the coronavirus crisis. It felt appropriate to sit down at a table at my home in the living room and meticulously reproduce an image. The source images, by the way, are usually found photographs that relate to the performers heard in the recording, and usually these are portraits of the performer or performers themselves. So in late March of this year, I sat down with some pencils and an eraser and started almost thoughtlessly reproducing this small black and white photo I had in front of me of 2 Banar, which is a Vietnamese tribal group, children with their shared instrument. I worked for several days on it until it reached a point where it looked just like the photo in front of me. This is not my typical way I do things. I tend to be more intuitive, impulsive, and expressive in my mark makings. But again, in the context of the coronavirus, it seemed appropriate. After I finished the drawing, I wrote at the bottom the title of the song, its source, and finally, the COVID-19 stats for Vietnam, the country the recording originated in. The notation of these stats seemed to me one of the more interesting parts of the whole drawing, and I decided I would do so for all 100. Other aspects that appeared in consequent drawings and that now form the concept of the Top 100 2020 were later added to the drawing. The Top 100 2020 series is now subtitled the COVID-19 series. There are an incredible amount of different countries represented in the list, so it's interesting to compare numbers among them and how they evolve over time. There are only 2 countries represented numerous times, the United States and Canada. In the background, you see the first of 2 Canadian drawings that I've done so far belonging to this current series. But before I talk about this drawing, it's perhaps necessary to say a few words about the character of the music that dominates the current list, the top 100 2020. Most recordings are of a type called field recordings. This is to set it apart from the music recordings that are of a type uh, that could be called commercial recordings. Field recordings, in its purest sense, function as an academic aid in the study of a given culture. Ethnomusicology is the science belonging to this type of music. I'm not a scientist, I have no degree or real competence in the field of inquiry, but my interest in it goes back quite a number of years, and I'm at a point now where I consider myself at least well versed. I've always been interested in the origins of music. This goes back to a time when, as a teenager, just starting the Top 100 project, 1983 it was, I was introduced to African American blues originals of later British rock music that I favored at that time. In an analogy with my interest in prehistoric art and an investigation into the origins and thereby the essence of music has been front and center in what motivates me to explore and to create. Music archaeology is the science that investigates the ancient history of music. A missing link in this field is the open question of how and when language evolved into music. I dare to ask to ignore this question. What if it were the other way around? What if language evolved out of music instead? Essential, in my mind, to both the origins of art and music is the element of play. Play is the activity in which creativity roams. Children play perhaps to interpret the world around them. They oftentimes simulate the sound and movements of animals or the behavior of adults. The preparation for adulthood may very well be a biological function of play. But children play too, just for the sheer fun it is to play, to fight boredom or to release their energy. Children often laugh when they play, especially when they play together. Music is play too. Music is not work. Many, at least 10, of the songs in the top 100 2020 end with laughter, and all of these, except for one, are duets. It may or may not be a coincidence, but all are, except for one duet between a man and a woman, by women and girls. Among the 10 are 6 recordings of the Inuit tradition of kateat. And this then brings me to the context of the drawing that you see behind me here. A kateat, the singular form of kateat, is a song, or game rather, that consists of nonsensical words or imitations of the natural world. Two performers that echo each other's sound stand so close to one another that their voices resonate. This is a game, and the loser of the game is the one that laughs first. This is the end of the song. And it's much like a staring contest, in which the first to blink or smile or laugh loses the game. Jean-Jacques Nattiès of the University of Montreal is an ethnomusicologist and the foremost authority on Inuit musical culture. He does not consider kateat to be music. To him, they are merely games. The Inuits themselves do not consider kateat music either. But in my mind, it is. And it touches on what I instinctively feel as the key to understanding the essence of music and its origin. The play, the mingling of two souls into one, the laughter is in my mind so integral to the experience of music that it must have something to do with the question of why there is music in the first place. Most of us will have had an experience of playing music together with others. And the elation, excitation, ecstasy almost, when it gels, when the sounds produced flow as if from one entity, from one body, When it ends, all musicians involved laugh. Even today, duets end with smiles and laughter. I think of a duet I recently watched on YouTube of Bonnie Raitt together with John Prine. Or the many duets of Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers. They laugh, but not because it's funny, but because they had a very deep interpersonal experience. The Top 100 2020 is, despite of its COVID-19 subtitle, the most positive, no pun intended here, and happiest of them all. And here's another work that I will talk about in a minute. Now let's listen to the first minute or so of a truly amazing play tune performed by two 15-year-old Inuits that is illustrated by this recent drawing that you see here. It was recorded at Baker Lake, Hudson Bay, in what is now called the semi-independent territory of Nunavut, Canada. I'll run it until the first, it's a 2.5 minute song and it's interrupted several times by laughter. I'll run it up until the first interruption of laughter. Here it goes. Hopefully it works. Where's my sound? Here it is. I'm leaving. Here's my shoes. The track was recorded by Laura Bolton in 1955 and appears on the Eskimos of Hudson Bay on Folkways. It was most likely Bolton as well who photographed the little black and white of the Inuit family reproduced in the liner notes on the album that I used as the source for this work. The two children at the center of this image may very well be Angutnak and Matei, who are the performers heard in the recording. Eskimos, as Inuits were called at the time of the recording, is now considered a derogative term. While COVID-19 cases are on par with other countries in the Western world, the Nunavut, in Canada that is, the Nunavut territory has not registered a single case. Keep your fingers crossed, knock on wood. And that concludes today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and please check back next week. I'll have another one up. That'll be a little bit different. I'll do a tour of the building and I'll be working on pouring some concrete actually. I'm gonna videotape that. That'll be the number 2 in this series of at least like 10 videos that I plan on creating. Follow me also on this YouTube channel or on Facebook, the Top 100 Archive and Studio page dedicated, or the blog, Barry's Top 100 blogspot.com to receive updates. On that blog, a section is called Happiness is a Duet. This was written on May 11th. It discusses the same topic as this video does. So be well and bye now. Bless the world. Ciao.